Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk and my review of Avengers Endgame. It's been a long time coming, quite frankly. Yeah, still 22nd film in, it's incredible really to think that we've got 22 films now within the space of just a little over 10 years. It took like Bond 50 years to get that many. Yeah, but hey, we're here. Russo brothers are back in director duty, and we've got, carryover from the previous film. If you don't know where we are by this point, you've clearly not been keeping up with the franchise, so I don't even know why you'd be watching this review. But I would imagine, for the sake of argument, if you are watching this review, you are a fan of this series. So you will have seen Infinity War. I'm going to try and not give away any spoilers for this, because I do think going into this film, not knowing anything, is really the best way to do it. If you can stay away from the internet for a while, if you've not seen this film yet, please do so, because don't let people ruin it for you. All I'll say from here on out, pretty much, is that it's incredible. I loved it. I absolutely flipping loved it. So we've got all the characters kind of in a place that is quite dark, quite depressing. Obviously, given the events of Infinity War, half of the universe has been wiped out by Thanos, and people really just have to figure out how to continue, how to go about life, and they just can't. Is the simple answer to that one. We kind of pick up 5 years later from Infinity War, and we see where everyone's at, and they're not in a good place. Until someone, I'm going to try and stay away from spoilers, but one of the Avengers has an idea about how to fix things. This is going to be tricky. It's very tricky, I'm going to say. I'm going to slip up on my words here, I'm sure. But I'm sure it's not a spoiler to say that, obviously they reverse what Thanos does. We get a trailer at the beginning of this film for Spider-Man Far From Home. Spider-Man was killed in Infinity War, so clearly we would not have Spider-Man Far From Home if they didn't reverse what Thanos does. The question is, how do they go about that? And that's where the excitement comes. That's where the surprises come. How do they go about doing that? It's a thrill ride is the answer. So the Avengers split up into various teams and go off on different missions that kind of is all part of one big mission, and each has to, like I say, do their part in order to make things happen. It's so hard not giving anything away. But like I said, it's incredible. I think that this film, what its biggest strength for me personally is that it really is an end. If you wanted to step away from the Marvel Cinematic Universe after this film, which I would imagine quite a few people do, because it's quite an investment, and to know that from here on out it could go on for goodness knows how long. This Blu-ray collection I have behind me one day could just be a Marvel collection. When are you going to watch all of those again? So that is something to consider. At what point might you want to step out? And what I will say is, if you are that way inclined, you could do that after this film. You could watch this, you could get to the end, and really is a satisfying payoff to everything they've delivered throughout the past 10 years. We get characters whose arcs really are kind of wrapped up. And they're kind of given peace in some ways. They're kind of the conflicts they've had in other films are wrapped up in other ways. It's just what the Russo brothers do, and what the team of writers that go into making a film like this, putting this together, putting the story together, all the planning, is really incredible to balance all these characters. And that's something that I've said for all of the Avengers movies. They never seem to lose. They know what they're doing. They never seem to drop the ball on it. I know a lot of people were quite down on Age of Ultron, but even going back to that film in recent years, I find it to be highly underrated. I think what Joss Whedon did with that was a really great job, again, in taking that many characters and really balancing the story. And the Russo brothers do that here. To an even greater degree, I would say, than Infinity War. Now, in Infinity War, they did have more characters to balance, so you do have to take that into consideration. But I think, again, because they wiped out so many characters in Infinity War, they've got less to play with here, and it really does mean that they can zero in, really focus in on what the main character arc is for each of these characters. Now, does some get underchanged? No, not really, but yes, in other ways. I think that if you are a huge fan of Hulk or a huge fan of Thor, then you might be upset. Now, me, not so much personally. My only real reference point with these two characters is the movies. I love the movies. I love what they've done with them in the movies. I think they can change them up a bit. But if you're a comic book, a die-hard comic book fan, if you come to these Avengers movies because Hulk is your favourite character from the comics, or Thor is your favourite character from the comics, then I could very easily imagine you might be disappointed. Dare I say even a little bit pissed off. Now, that again, that's not to say that these characters are underused, but they may not be used in the way that you might want them to. Like for me, Thor in this is definitely funnier than he's ever been, although I've always found Thor to be the funniest character in these Avengers movies. When I look back at the previous 3 Avengers movies, the character that always gets the biggest laughs for me is Thor. A lot of that is down to Chris Hemsworth, his delivery. But yeah, they do play quite light with his character in previous movies. So they're not betraying the character in that respect. But I do think, yeah, there is room to be disappointed if you are a die-hard comic book fan of those two characters. More Thor than Hulk. But yeah, both to a degree. Everyone else, though, if you are a die-hard fan of any of the other characters in the comic books, I think you will not fail to walk away from this film with a big grin on your face, ear to ear, highly satisfied with what they've done. The payoffs are just absolutely brilliant. The arcs, the emotion, the way they pull you into the characters, the way they make you root for them, the way they balanced the humour with real heartfelt stuff. There are many moments in this film where I got a lump in my throat. Now, I went to see the midnight showing last night, and the woman that was sat next to me, I didn't know her, I didn't go with her. She was just, it was a packed theatre. I had no choice but to be sandwiched between a bunch of people, and the woman next to me was in tears by the end of it. She was trying very hard to hide it, but she wasn't doing a particularly good job. But yeah, I think this film will definitely set a lot of people off on an emotional level. I loved it, absolutely loved it. The special effects are top notch. Thanos is still a great villain. One of my concerns, I think, going into this was because they'd done such a good job with Thanos and because he'd accomplished his plan, was where do they go from here with him? And there are still a few surprises in here, and we do see an adaptation of his ideology. I did an essay on Infinity War over my other channel, the Movie Evangelist, in which it did look at the way that actually his plan, even though it's totally demented, even though it's something you can never justify in a logic sense, that there is some logic to it. If you want to create peace in the universe, if you want to let things balance out, let nature be able to thrive a bit more, wipe out half of the population. But obviously you never condone that. So there is an escalation here with Thanos. When he reacts to everybody else's reaction, when he sees that they cannot move on, they cannot embrace his plan, then his ideology too must adapt, and in so doing he becomes a greater threat. He becomes he carries on in that vein of the real badass, kick-ass villain that we found him to be in the previous film. My favourite character in this one, I mean, I've always been the Captain America guy when it comes to Marvel. Again, that's nothing related to the comic books. For me, with Marvel, it's always been the movies. That's really all I know is the movies. I'm a huge fan of them, and simply going off the movies, Captain America is my guy. Iron Man is the one who, you know, obviously when this universe started, it started with him. He was our inroad, so to speak. So he was the one that, because they blew us away with Iron Man way back in the beginning, Robert Downey Jr. was really the one who kind of you had to beat, essentially. And I think over the course of time, my love for Iron Man did wane, because I find a lot of arrogance in his character, maybe a bit too much arrogance. It's not a quality I particularly warm to. But throughout this film, in many ways, Iron Man does redeem himself on that front. You know, he's never been a cold character, don't get me wrong. You know, they've always found ways to inject warmth into Tony Stark. You know, you look at a lot of the stuff around his parents and what he's got to deal with. There's definitely a human being in there. And I just think in this one, they bring more of that out. You know, they find ways to really humanize Tony Stark, really pull us in to his way of thinking and feel for him in many ways. So yeah, for me, those two are the standouts. Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, you know, Captain America and Iron Man. This is their film for me. That's not to say that they're the only two that get any attention. What I mean is, from a personal note, this is their film, just for my personal tastes. When I come to this, they will be the main draw for me. But that being said, as I've already said, so many of the other characters really do get given their due. No one is shortchanged. Like I say, maybe handled in the way that you might not want them to be, but definitely not shortchanged. And we even get some characters making a return that perhaps you wouldn't expect to make a return, but done in really great ways. Not in ways that feel shoehorned or forced, but yeah, in really great ways that pay off emotionally and dramatically in every single way. If I had one fault with the entire film, it is literally a 5-second throwaway line, which is that there's these kind of help groups, support groups. Captain America's running one, and this guy is talking about, you know, how he went on a date for the first time in 5 years, and he mentions the fact that the date was a guy, and it's just like, it feels like it's forced in there to be inclusive. You know, this is a debate that is raging across the internet. This kind of forced inclusivity. I'm all for inclusivity. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to feel it. I know that's probably going to sound awful. That's probably going to make me sound like a homophobe. I'm really not. But it's this. When you can see the ideology, that's my thing that rubs me the wrong way. When you can see that something's been put in there for the sake of having this inclusivity, when it just wasn't necessary. Like, yeah. I'm sure I'll take some flack for that comment, but hopefully if you're of a rational mind, you'll see where I'm coming from. That's not a comment or a criticism directed at gay people or anything like that. It is merely this notion that now every film must have some kind of agenda that includes everyone, so that films must, you know, appeal to everyone. But yeah, whatever. That's my one downside. Like I say, it's a 5-second throwaway clip, but it just made me go ugh, when it came on. Don't know if that makes me a terrible human being. I'll let you decide. But yeah, Avengers Endgame. Absolutely staggering film. I give it a 5 out of 5, no question. I will be seeing this again. It was a really long film, but I did not feel it. My bum did not hurt. My brain was engaged. My heart was engaged. And I absolutely loved it. So yeah, there you go. Go and see it. Let me know what you thought of it down in the comment section below. Thank you for watching this video. And until next time, cracking.